Welcome everyone, we are back at it with a look at the 2026 prospects. Today we are talking about the running back prospect, this running back class, breaking them down a bit, giving you kind of a sneak peek of what kind of the caliber guys we're going to be looking at in our rookie drafts. Without spoiling anything though, I don't think this is a bad class, but it is nothing compared to last year. We had Ashton Genty, Marion Hampton, Quinshawn, Travion, just a bunch of really good prospects. This year I don't think it's that deep and I don't think it's that good. We had some guys jump into the portal, not declare like Justice Haynes, Hollywood Smothers, and LJ Martin from BYU, which kind of hurt the depth of this class and maybe even the top end of it. But either way, I think there are a handful of names that I really like, and I think that you're going to really like for your upcoming rookie drafts and as we get closer to April, just kind of evaluating these guys. So with that being said, let's get right into it and talk about this 2026 running back draft class. Okay, no surprises here with the first guy we are going to start with, Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame running back. Absolutely going to be the first running back off the board in the NFL draft, maybe even a top 10 pick in the first round, and for sure, probably going to be the 101 in rookie drafts. Dude's phenomenal. Checks all the boxes you look for. Size, speed, receiving chops, explosiveness, early declare, only a 3-year guy, highest PFF grade at 93.4, highest yards after contact per attempt at 4.5, highest missed tackles forced per attempt at 28.1%, highest yards per route one at 1.83, which is something that I look at. It is probably the number one thing I look at for running backs. And I know they're running backs, but how good are they in the receiving game? And he is really good in the receiving game. Leads the group in breakaway run percentage, which is basically just the percentage of runs over 15 yards, which is he's almost at 12% there, which is ridiculous. It's just, the guy's sick. I mean, there's really not much to say here. He will likely be drafted in the first round, like I mentioned, maybe even top 10. A lot of people are talking about that Kansas City Chiefs landing spot because they're in the top 10 this year after Patrick Mahomes going down. They've had a bad year, but in my opinion, I think he's going to be a top 5 running back in Dynasty at the very least, probably top 3. And the thing I think we're going to be looking at the most, though, is that landing spot. It will matter the most. We just saw it with Ashton Genty. A lot of people drafted him, we all kind of knew the Raiders were going to be bad, but people drafted him anyways at the 101, as you should have. I think he's going to have it even better this year. But yeah, I think landing spot's going to matter. Just situation's going to matter. And if he goes to one of those big landing spots, he's going to be up there with Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs as the, basically going up for the top running back in Dynasty. So I think he's just a phenomenal pick. He's going to be the 101 in rookie drafts, like I mentioned again. But, I just think lots of the time we overthink this caliber prospect. And yeah, Jeremiah Love is someone you should not overlook, and I don't think other people are going to be as well just because of the type of class that this is. But yeah, Jeremiah Love is here at the top and absolutely probably going to be the 101 and my RB1 come April. Moving over to Notre Dame's other running back. I don't know if a lot of people know about him, but Jadarian Price, 5'11", 210, so pretty good size. But okay, quickly though, if you see a picture of this guy or if you watch his highlights, whatever, just pause it for a second. And this may sound weird, but look at the guy's quads. It's like Saquon Barkley type quads. He looks like he's a freakish type athlete. His numbers obviously don't jump off the page. He played a lot of second fiddle to Jeremiah Love, but don't sleep on him. Please don't. He's got the juice. He's fast. He makes people miss. He's up at the top in missed tackles forced per attempt. Has almost a 4 yards after contact per attempt. The PFF grade isn't great at 78.9, like 79 or whatever, but it's not something it's going to make or break him for me. Yeah, he's just a guy that I really love this year. He also returned multiple kicks for touchdowns for Notre Dame this year. Just tells you how good of an athlete he is. Just the guys who return kicks, that's like a sneaky look at how good they are in the open field, how good, of an athlete that they may be. And, just kind of little stuff like that can give you a sneak peek on how good these guys are just as athletes. He's a former 5-star out of high school. Looks really solid all around. However, I know that there's going to be a number that, sticks out here. It's going to be a glaring number, a hole that people try to poke in his profile, which obviously so they probably should. He had just 6 catches this past year. Not exactly something you love to see on a running back prospect these days, especially how important receiving out of the backfield is. Unless your name is Derrick Henry, it matters a ton if you're going to be playing on those downs. So I think you can make a bunch of arguments against it, but I think you can make a lot of arguments for him. Jeremiah Love was stealing a lot of those touches. Why would you give those touches to Jadarian Price when you have Jeremiah Love? I totally get it. We don't love this kind of question mark, but I think there is something positive to look at. He has a 1.21 yards per route run, which is really nice to see. It's a small sample size. I get it, but I think he'd probably be a lead back on 95% of schools. It's just he's playing second fiddle behind Jeremiah Love, but he was good with his touches. 6 yards per carry, almost 700 yards on just 113 attempts. He had 11 touchdowns. He had 2 receiving touchdowns on just 6 catches. Everything I love to see. I know he's probably not going to grade out as good in my prospect model, but I really don't care. I think he's going to be probably the second running back off the board. A lot of people think he's the second best running back in this draft. I seem to think so as well. Film guys are high on him. I just think it's probably going to be weird considering, the profile, and there are a lot of holes to poke, but I totally get it. If you love Jadarian Price, you're right there with me. If you don't, I totally get it because the lack of receiving work, he's the backup to Jeremiah Love. It's not the absolute sexiest thing in the world, so I totally get it there. Jonah Coleman, University of Washington, 5'9", 228. Total bowling ball out there, and if you get a chance to watch him, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. This dude is a unit. I think his profile is solid. This year in 2025 was not the best example. He was pretty banged up a lot of the season, missed some games, clearly played in games that he was hurt. Just very, very obvious if you go back and look at reports. He was clearly fighting through injury. Props to him for doing that, especially when he's most likely going to be coming out this year. But if you look back at his prior years, I think it's a much better example of what kind of a player he is. He's going to be like this Cam Scatterbo type guy, breaks a lot of tackles, isn't the fastest, which is a slight concern for me because I think that NFL scouts, GMs, are going to look at it and kind of just stray away from it, which is a weird thing that they seem to do. I think this could affect whether he goes in the second or third round, like on day 2, or he goes on like in the early day 3 range like Cam Scatterbo did, because not the most athletic guy, not the most explosive guy, but the most intriguing thing about him, which I think people are going to love, is what he does in the passing game as a receiver out of the backfield. 1.73 yards per out run. Phenomenal. 31 catches. It's basically 350 yards out of the backfield. It's really, really good. 2 receiving touchdowns to go on it as well. He really, really reminds me of like a James Conner type of archetype. Bigger back, solid vision, can contribute really, really well in the passing game. And it's just going to come down to draft capital, though, in my opinion. He's a guy to really, really, really watch closely as we get closer. Then we get through the Senior Bowl, we get through the Shrine Bowl, and then we get to the Combine, and just hearing what these teams think about him. And I think Jonah Coleman's going to really be an interesting guy. I think teams are going to love him just based on how tough he is, how big he is, and he produces in the receiving game. So yeah, 15 touchdowns this past year as well. You want a guy who's going to be in at the goal line, not who gets taken out at the 3, 4, 5 yard line. So that's something good to look at. I love Jonah Coleman, and I think if you look at his profile a little bit closer, there's a lot to love, and a guy I'm going to be pretty high on come rookie drafts. Speaking of another guy who did not have a great 2025, Mr. Nicholas Singleton is up next. One of the 2 Penn State running backs, a name people probably are going to be more familiar with. Just being honest, he should have come out last season. Let's just be totally real. Him and Drew Aller should have come out last season. Totally killed the momentum that he had after last season when Penn State was a contender in the college football playoff. They were in the picture, everything. Disappointing senior season for him. And most everybody who decided to return to Penn State probably had a disaster season as well. True disaster. Truly, it really was. He didn't even clear 600 rushing yards, averaged less than 4.5 yards per carry. His analytics are actually pretty horrendous as well. Only a 2.69 yards after contact per attempt. 15.3 missed tackles forced per attempt. Not a good breakaway run weight per attempt. And I'll explain why all this is weird, and which it just really doesn't add up. Just really, really low in a lot of these categories. PFF grade is significantly down as well, but nothing about this year was good. Singleton does have a rabbit to pull out of his hat, though. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, I think that it's a little bit weird because he's 6'2", 224. He will absolutely crush at the combine, no doubt about it. Almost a lock to run in the 4.3s, the low 4.3s, and may even push into like the 4.2 range. That's going to be attractive to NFL scouts. It's going to be a guy that you'd be like, whoa. And when he takes off, I mean, he's big, he's fast. Teams love that, and I totally get it. I think people, that'll be something that people will honestly get people to forget about his last season in college. I do think it will, because he was a former 5-star player, number 1 player at his position coming out of high school. He produced as a true freshman. He was getting like these Saquon Barkley type comps early on, just based on when you look at him, he kind of looks like Saquon Barkley. He's not Saquon Barkley though. That's something to really remember. He was highly effective as a receiver as well. Out of the backfield, he had a 1.49 yards per out run, over 20 catches, had over 200 yards receiving in each of his last 3 seasons. Teams will love that. Size, speed, good as a receiver. I don't know how he is as a pass blocker. I think that's going to be important as well, like a small thing to throw in there. But yeah, I think that I'm going to be probably high on him just because of the athleticism, how good is he, how good he's going to grade out in my prospect model. But yeah, I just think he's an interesting guy because, yeah, I mean, it's weird because he wasn't productive this last year in college at all, and he took a backseat to the guy we're going to talk about next, who was also on his team. And he's just not For how athletic he is, he didn't produce any explosive runs, didn't make guys miss. Yards after contact was weak. It just doesn't make any sense. But I think he's going to be a guy that I'm going to be taking shots on, and a lot of people are too. But a lot of people may be down on just because he didn't do a lot. He didn't improve a lot after his true freshman, sophomore season early on in college, especially coming off his junior season, which I think he should have come out. So it's going to be an interesting guy to look at, interesting guy to watch, and interesting to see where teams decide to take him in the NFL draft. Okay, the other Penn State running back, actually the more productive Penn State running back, Katron Allen, another big back, 5'11", 219. I don't even know if this is true, but I believe that his nickname is Fat Man on the team. Kind of a wild nickname, but former four-star recruit, highly ranked player in the 2022 high school class, came out the same year as Nicholas Singleton, so they came into Penn State together. Not nearly athletic as Singleton, but dude, this guy can clearly play. His numbers on the screen tell you all you need to know. Over a 91, he has a 91.5 PFF grade, 3.77 yards after contact per attempt, really good. 27.1 missed tackles forced per attempt at the top of the class. Pretty good breakaway run rate attempt as well at 15 plus yards. Just really, really good all around. Over 1,300 yards rushing this year, 6.2 yards after contact, or yards per carry, 15 total touchdowns. Yeah, I mean, Katron Allen was really good this year. Clearly the lead back. I know that him and Singleton get a lot of the credit, but dude, he was clearly better than Singleton this past year, and is clearly just a better pure rusher. I know he's not going to be as athletic. Some of the holes that people are going to poke in his profile is that he is on the older side. He will be 23 on draft night and 24 years old after the 2026 season, which would be his rookie season. Also, like I mentioned earlier, he is not going to light up the combine like his teammate. He will probably run in the mid 4.5s and may even go into the 4.6s if he runs at all. I think that they may tell him not to run just because of that. It may take his draft stock. I think it's a little silly, but another thing that he isn't the receiving threat that Nicholas Singleton is. Kind of hard to grab a role when you have a teammate who really excels there and who does not excel as a pure runner like you do. So I get it there. I think there's arguments on both sides that can be made, but Katron Allen had over 20 targets and 14 catches every single year in college. So it's not like he was just a complete nothing burger as a receiver. I was not high on Katron Allen coming into this year. I'm not going to lie. I didn't like the lack of athleticism that I saw. It's kind of a boring player to watch. He didn't really do anything too crazy until this year. He really, really broke out. But yeah, the lack of receiving production compared to Nicholas Singleton really turned me off big time. But his senior season changed a ton for me. And I have a good feeling that I'm going to like Katron Allen a lot more than others, regardless of what he runs at the combine, regardless of kind of where he grades out in my prospect model. I think he's going to be a little bit weaker just based on his receiving. But, I just think he's probably going to be a good running back who comes in the NFL and is at least a good backup running back. So, yeah, Katron Allen is here. And, yeah, I think he's an easy argument that he's a better running back than Nicholas Singleton, just doesn't have the tools that he does. Next up here, we got Emmett Johnson, a name who kind of came out of nowhere this season. Nebraska running back, 5'11", 200. So a little bit on the smaller side, but this did not stop him from being the first or second most productive guy in this class behind Jeremiah Love. He ran for close to 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5.8 yards per carry. Was great out of the backfield as a receiver, especially playing against good Big Ten competition. This is impressive. 46 catches for 370 yards, 3 more touchdowns. A really, really solid 1.27 yards per route run. I love pretty much everything on paper. He's got a nice PFF grade as well that almost touches 88. High missed tackles forced per attempt. Just really, really good. Makes guys miss, which is really, really nice to see for a smaller guy, guys who are on the smaller side, which I don't think matters much anymore. I think if you're around 200 pounds, even if you're below 200 pounds, Devontae Chan, Bucky Irving, a lot of these guys have just pretty much, Jahmyr Gibbs even, have just destroyed this type of, prospect who comes in at less than 200 pounds and they think that he's not going to be as productive. That's gone now. I think it really is. So he isn't the perfect profile. Honestly, I don't think anybody's perfect in this class, maybe except for Jeremiah Love. He's close. But a lot of people are kind of skeptical at his long speed and how he'll test at the combine. I'll be honest, I don't share too much of this concern at all. I don't really give too much of a crap about what he does at the combine unless he runs at like the 4.7s, which I don't think he will. But the combine doesn't matter as much as it used to, in my opinion. It's more of something that I look at to see if teams change the tune on players, how it changes the tune on players. I think the days are gone where, if a guy doesn't run in the 4.5 or below the 4.5 territory, we pretty much write him off. We have so much more data to look at to project players. So I'm pretty high on Emmett Johnson early in the process, just based on, how the last couple of years have gone and just how much more data we have now to look at. And I think Emmett Johnson's a perfect example of a guy who's going to be probably successful in the NFL because he can do a lot of different things. Nothing like exceptionally well, but I think it's just going to be a good all-around running back, especially if he goes to a good landing spot and he has opportunity early on. Another interesting name here that you probably haven't heard of, maybe you have, but Damon Claiborne out of Wake Forest, 5'10", 195. Once again, another guy below 200 pounds on the smaller side, but yeah, like we talked about, it doesn't really matter as much anymore. A lot of these guys have just broken through regardless of how much they weigh. But Damon Claiborne, if you watch him, he is explosive. He's a burner. You see at the moment he gets the ball in his hands, he has impressive lateral movement mixed with some elite long speed. This guy is fast. I would not be surprised if he has a track background. He clearly looks like it. I've seen people get more and more excited about him and what he can do like in the open field. He went to a smaller school, though, so he's not getting as much attention. A lot of people don't know who he is. So, some of the other guys, we'll just see the Wake Forest logo and just kind of write him off. I get it in a way, but let's not helmet scout too much. I do like Claiborne early on. I'm not going to lie. I kind of do just based on what you see when you turn on the tape. But I don't see myself falling in love with him too much. He leaves a ton to be desired as a receiver, which I expected more from him, to be honest. Considering he's so explosive and so fast, I was a little disappointed. He had only a 0.66 yards per route run, and although he had almost 30 catches, it only went for like 137 yards. This tells me it was a lot of dump-offs, not a lot of actual routes that were run out of the backfield successfully. But I think this is something to combat this, though. I think this is a little bit of a weird thing that it's nice to look at previous years other than just the year that they just had. In 2024, he had 22 catches for 250 yards, a 1.54 yards per route run. Much more of what you like to see. Honestly, much more of the player that I think probably Damon Claiborne's probably going to be in the NFL, or much more of what I project. So I'm excited to get more information on him, though. We do have the Senior Bowl, the Shrine Bowl coming up. I think Claiborne will be at the Shrine Bowl, so that's something to watch. See if he makes some early buzz. See if he gets a good impression early on, and people start to get higher on him. So yeah, Damon Claiborne's a prospect that I am intrigued by early on. Has pretty good analytics all across the board here, I would say pretty much, and a guy you probably should be looking into more and more if you are, evaluating his prospects early on. Okay, Mark Fletcher, the Miami Hurricanes running back, a big back, 6'2", 220. Kind of crazy size for, what we see from running backs these days. A player I don't believe who has declared for the NFL draft. I am recording this on the day of the national championship game between Miami and Indiana, so we may not know the answer to if he's going to declare for another couple days, another week or so, but very productive at Miami this year. Over 1,000 rushing yards, 12 total touchdowns, 92 PFF grade, 3.7 yards after contact per attempt, 27.5 missed tackles forced per attempt, so making guys miss. Really solid across the board, performed at a high level versus some great defenses. If you've been watching the college football playoff, you probably have seen Mark Fletcher. He had really good games versus Texas A&M, especially versus Ohio State. Another one versus Ole Miss. Really showed up when Miami needed him the most. I mean, I'm curious of how guys are going to feel about him just based on the sentiment of Miami going this deep in the playoffs and him being a big part of it. The bad part about his profile, though, only a 0.65 yards per route run, just 16 catches, didn't do too much with it. He had 2 receiving touchdowns, 132 yards, but I'm just not sure if he's the most athletic guy, but he's got the size. He looks to be kind of like a bruiser, like an Ollie Gordon type of guy from last year. Fletcher does have youth on his side, though. I will say he will be an early declare if he does come out this year at like 21 and a half years old around draft night or on draft night. Nothing in his profile really jumps out to me, though. A solid prospect who I think probably ends up on day 3, maybe early day 3 kind of guy, maybe just sneaks into the end of the 3rd round. I do not know. Honestly, I think that if he has a really good game versus Indiana and he declares, I think he could probably go on day 2 at the end of day 2. But until now, we don't know exactly if he's going to come out or not, but I think he's an interesting profile. Just you love to see more from the receiving game. And, you don't love the fact that he's not crazy athletic and he's just super bulking bruiser back. So that is something that I look for and kind of just, who I shy away from, these big guys who don't catch the ball to the backfield. But you never know. We'll see if Mark Fletcher declares and is a guy to watch for, the next couple days now. Next guy we will talk about here, Mike Washington Jr., running back at Arkansas, another big back, 6'2", 228, another bruiser. He's a little bit on the older side. I believe he's going to be around 23-ish years old on draft night.
He's a transfer from Buffalo where he was there for, I think, his first 3-4 years. Then he went to New Mexico State before he came to Arkansas in 2025. Stepped right into the SEC. Had a really good year. Over 1,000 yards, 9 total touchdowns, 6.4 yards per carry is really good against SEC competition. 3.86 yards after contact per attempt. Solid PFF grade 2. Kind of a lot of green across the board here. He's also pretty productive as a receiver. Pretty solid. 0.98 yards per route run. 28 catches for 226 yards. Had a receiving touchdown. Not incredible, but it's a nice touch to his profile, who is a bigger back. So I'm not going to lie. After watching him a little bit, I really, really like him. I know he's an older prospect, but dude, this guy is physical. He runs dudes over. He bounces off of guys. I watched him against my Texas Longhorns this year when Arkansas played us, and he killed us in that game. I know that Texas won by quite a bit. That's because Arkansas's defense is absolutely terrible, but there was a play where he trucked. And I mean, you should probably use a different word for this, but Michael Taft came down. And yeah, Michael Taft went down after he tried to tackle Mike Washington. I have never seen someone get destroyed like that. It looked like he just folded him in half. Didn't even look like he touched Mike Washington at all. I know I got a little bit excited here. I think he's probably going to be a day 3 prospect. He could get some buzz if he, goes to a running back room that is a little out of limbo, that maybe, would provide some opportunity if a guy gets hurt behind him. I don't think he's going to be a lead back where, we're vying for him to be the lead back, straight after he's drafted, kind of like, the Bashal Tutins last year and stuff like that. But I think he's probably going to walk into a room and he could, be a nice touch to it and could have some decent games. I don't know. He's a decent prospect and one that we'll probably look at even more, and we'll see how he grades out in the prospect medal. But yeah, a decent running back out of Arkansas, SEC guy. So always fun to look at there. Adam Randall, the Clemson running back, very, very interesting name. Another big guy, like 6'2", 235, massive size, a converted wide receiver. Something to know. He's going to go into the bucket of someone like Tyron Tracy, Antonio Gibson. This was his first year playing running back, and it was a solid one for sure. Clemson's offense was not very good. He had over 800 rushing yards, though, 250 receiving yards on 36 catches, a .90 yards per route run. So, it's not the greatest, but you love to see that he's a former wide receiver who has that type of ability out of the backfield. 13 total touchdowns. Nothing is eye-popping here, but, the converted wide receiver guy, it seemed to be a trend the last couple of years with Tracy. Really, really viable fantasy option this past year and the year before that in his rookie season. And, of course, we know about Antonio Gibson. These guys just seem to take over a role, and they seem to be pretty valuable, especially guys who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I'm just curious to see how people feel about him. I've barely heard rumblings around the community about Adam Randall, and I'm sure it is coming now. Once they hear the converted wide receiver thing, I think people are going to kind of just change their tune on him just a little bit and, pay a little more attention. But, this class is not the greatest and it's not very deep at talent, but I do think it's filled with some interesting names like Adam Randall, like Mike Washington. May get some buzz, like I said, because he's a wide receiver, but just keep this guy in mind. Just watch him. I don't know if he's going to be at the Senior Bowl or the Shrine Bowl, but yeah, guys should probably pay attention to just based off the receiving skill set. Moving along here, we got Robert Henry Jr., the UTSA running back, 5'9", 205. Looks like he's going to be an early declare. I believe he's like 21 years old, so he's on the younger side. Don't quote me on that, for sure. Please don't, because they don't have his age out there. But I think him declaring means that he's got some good feedback from scouts about his potential draft capital. He rushed for over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns, almost 7 yards per carry, which is pretty crazy. I know. Before anyone says anything, please, I totally understand. He wasn't in the best competition playing for UTSA in that conference, but the reason I have him in this video is because of what he did to Texas A&M and another big school, another school who made the college football playoff in Tulane. He went for 180 and 2 touchdowns on 16 carries versus one of the best defenses in the country in Texas A&M, a great SEC defense full of guys who are going to be playing on Sundays. He absolutely torched them. If you haven't seen it, go back and watch that game. It's a game that prospects are going to look at, a game that guys are going to look at just based on the caliber of competition that he does play. And when he did see this big competition, he stepped up big time. He had another good game versus Tulane, who, like I said, was in the college football playoff this year. Not bad, and he has some juice. I really do think he does. He's on the lighter side, but again, I totally get it. He played for UTSA. There's a lot of holes you can poke in his prospect. He wasn't like a big factor out of the receiving game, not as much as you would like. A 0.57 yards per route run is not something you love to see. Just 17 catches, 112 yards. I get it. Not someone I envision going on day 2, for sure. I really don't think he's going to, but he could shake up a backfield somewhere and be someone who steps in and does some damage. We'll see how he grades out in the prospect model, but just a name you should be watching early on in the process here. Le'Veon Moss, a name people might recognize. He's been, I think, at A&M, Texas A&M for the last couple of years. He declared this year. He was hurt a lot this year. We'll talk about that in a second. 5'11", 210 pounds, solid size, looks to be decently athletic. You're probably wondering why you didn't hear his name a lot this year with Texas A&M being so good, but yeah, this is going to be a common issue with scouts and everyone else who evaluates this guy. I mean, he was just not able to stay healthy. He missed 9 games this year. He missed a lot of games in 2024. I think he suffered a season-ending injury, which, ended his 2024 season. He has been productive. He has been efficient when he has been on the field, but the sample sizes are too short, too small at certain points, and I just think we need him to stay healthy, and I'm just not sure that he's going to just magically stay healthy once he gets to the NFL. It's going to be a big question mark. I'm curious to see just how his medicals check out in general and just see how teams feel about him. But yeah, he declared this year. I think it's a fun one to watch just based on how productive he's been at spurts at A&M, and he has some juice. He was also the 5th ranked running back prospect in his class coming out of high school. He was a former 5-star guy. Health will be a big question mark, though. I think Le'Veon Moss is an interesting guy just based on where he went to school. He's a little bit older guy, though. He's like 23 and a half years old. He's probably going to be 24 at the end of his rookie season. But a guy I think you should look at nonetheless just because of the caliber prospect he was at high school. And he was productive when he was on the field for A&M. Moving on to the pair of Indiana running backs, Roman Hemby will be first. I assume they both declare. They're both really old prospects. Hemby was a transfer from Maryland where he played his first 4 years. And then he will be closing in on 24 years old when draft night comes around. He and his teammate, Kalen Black, who we'll talk about next, split this backfield pretty much all year long. So yeah, both guys in their 5th and 6th years, a little bit older. Both had solid production this year for Indiana, who knows? I think they're the favorites to win the national championship tonight for sure. They're like 10-point favorites. But yeah, none of these guys really took the lead status in this backfield. Hemby rushed for 864 yards. He had the better year. 6 total touchdowns. Over 5 yards per carry, which is solid. I kind of expected more from how good Indiana was this year, but 84 PFF grade, a respectable 1.10 yards per route run. Just 13 catches on 153 yards here. Like the clear better receiver out of the backfield for Indiana. I'm assuming both of these guys probably go on day 3. If not, one of them goes undrafted, I think, just based on their production, their age, their lack of high-end traits from what I've seen. I just think that they're probably going to be day 3 guys and probably going to be drafted just based on how good Indiana was this year and not based on the caliber of prospect they are. And that's no disrespect at all. The other Indiana running back, Kalen Black, who I just mentioned, a lot of the same with Hemby. They have similar size. He's also 210 pounds as well, just a couple of inches shorter, a little less than 100 less rushing yards this year. He's looks to be the lesser of the 2 running backs. Like when you look at it analytically, he just doesn't do as much out of the receiving game, like at all. 0.31 yards per route run and had just 4 catches this year, 31 yards. Super old. I believe he's been called for like 6 years. He was at James Madison, JMU with Coach Signetti before he came over to Indiana, and he came over with him in 2024 as well. I apologize to Indiana fans and guys who are fans of Kalen Black and Roman Hemby. I'm sure they're good football players. They probably look like they're good football players. They're Kurt Signetti's 2 running backs, but nothing on their profile really jumps out to me. Even in their previous years at James Madison, he never produced at all, which is kind of weird. But not sure if both of these guys get drafted. Like I mentioned, they're probably mid to late day 3 picks. But some guys to throw in here just based on where they went to school and how good Indiana was this year. Okay, moving on to one of the last 2 guys, Terrion Stewart, Virginia Tech running back. Another like bulky guy, big guy, 5'9", 222, looks like a mini tank out there, big stocky guy. Was the second fiddle behind the starting running back for Virginia Tech, Marcellus Hawkins, who returned for his final year. I thought he was going to be on this list as well, but he returned. Terrion Stewart is a transfer from Bowling Green where he played his first 4 years, so he's a 5th-year guy. He's like 24 and a half years old. He's going to be RJ Harvey's like 25 years old by the end of his rookie year. From afar, his profile looks pretty mediocre. I mean, honestly, I would agree. His profile is mediocre for sure. He doesn't do anything out of the backfield as a receiver. Never truly dominated or had a breakout season in college. Like I said, he'll be 25 years old at the end of rookie season. Not great. The only thing that sticks out is, 1, he does break a ton of tackles. He breaks tackles like crazy. His yards after contact per attempt was insane, 4.87. Almost a 50% missed tackles forced per attempt. It was like a low amount of attempts. I believe he only had 82 attempts this year, but it's kind of insane. Almost a 50% missed tackles forced per attempt. You could probably attribute this to him being older and playing against kids who were 3 or 4 years younger than him. But interesting nonetheless. He may go undrafted, maybe late day 3 at the very latest, but you never know. I have him here just, as a watch and see. He could impress at the Combine or at the Shrine Bowl, which he was invited to. He's going to be attending. But, we see names come out of nowhere every single year, guys who haven't really done anything out of college, and they end up being something in the NFL, and I got to watch. So, yeah, just a guy I wanted to put on here just as an interesting prospect. Final name here, Seth McGowan, running back out of Kentucky, 6'1", 215, transfer from Oklahoma and New Mexico State. I'm not sure how old he is. It doesn't have it online right now, but yeah, I couldn't find anything on that. But I have him here as the last guy because of the hype he got from a prospect that I watch really closely every single year around this time with Trevor Sikkema, Connor Rogers. I believe it's NFL Stock Exchange. If you had no clue who they are pretty highly respected, like NFL evaluators, college evaluators. They do like a bunch of in-depth look at players at every position coming out of the draft. And I saw McGowan pop up pretty high on Trevor Sikkema's list and just wanted to see what he looked like. Again, not sure if he will be a film guy or not. Nothing jumps out on his profile at all. He was just a starting running back at an SEC school at Kentucky. Didn't do a whole bunch. Only 730 rushing yards. Only 4.4 yards per carry. I don't know exactly what he saw, but maybe he saw something and I kind of trust it. Everything else is pretty much yellow, red across the board here. Very, very average. Not a great receiver. I'm just going to keep an eye on him, out on him, just because of how much Trevor Sikkema loved him. I have a ton of respect for what they do, and yeah, they're really good at what they do. So he will just probably be on my radar in general, just based off of that. That is going to be it for my 2026 running back prospect early look. Just wanted to get you guys kind of a good feel of what we're going to be seeing in rookie drafts, how good these prospects are on paper right now. I'm going to have my rankings out. I'm going to rank all these guys and just tell you kind of how I envision them going. It's not going to be perfect, but just based on how I evaluate them, how good they grade out in my prospect model, that'll be all coming soon. But yeah, I wanted to get this out to you guys, and I'm going to have the quarterbacks and the tight ends next very, very soon because, it's a smaller class there as well, but there's a ton of names that I think that are going to be intriguing and interesting come rookie draft time in April. So yeah, I will see you guys next time.